I love the shirt.
Good morning. Oh, thanks.
Good morning.
How's your day so far?
Doing great. And you?
Good. I was so happy after doing some of the Ignite stuff, like all the stuff that I've been feeling like I was missing in a way. I'm
Yeah.
I'm seeing there. I haven't felt like I need to be an expert in order to do things, but I felt like I needed to at least have the basics.
Yeah. That's the
and,
whole point of Ignite. Yeah.
and so it's like, here's the basics I've been looking for.
Well, it couldn't have come at a better time then.
So it's helping me because um, I always feel like I'm a good self-starter on a lot of things and able to move forward on stuff. And I don't always feel like I need to know everything to like move into action. But I feel like I need to know enough to not be a complete bumbling idiot, you know?
Yep.
And
100%.
so now it's like, okay, this is what I needed. This is what I've been missing.
And Melba just tells it
Um,
like it is too.
well, honestly, um, the part that was giving me the missing pieces are the pieces that I got online through the digital files
Hmm.
and being able to click on the links and everything that are in the extra materials as far as the missions for the day that you're supposed to do before.
Right.
So I feel like if someone had given me, because I couldn't do Ignite right away, if someone had given me access to those mission sheets,
Mhm.
that's what I needed.
So is she teaching Ignite 2 or 2.0 or the old one?
Um,
Because
if
in the
if you
Google Drive is the new one with all the links and all the videos and all the printout materials and all that.
okay,
Um, I don't know whether she's doing Ignite 2.0. I don't know this.
if you go to command or to the not command but the Keller site and you go to education and it goes there, it's the stuff that you get there.
Okay,
I
so
pulled
that should
everything.
be 2.0.
Okay.
So she probably got clearance from Greg, I'm assuming, for that to count for credit,
Yes.
for CE credit. So yeah, that material has been in the Google Drive for a while, but I'm glad you got it.
She had to add things to it to make it count through Greg.
Okay, and it sounds like she did that, right?
Yeah, because she had to add something, I think, with, was it contracts?
Oh, like a contract class.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm glad you have the resources now, and I'm glad that you're excited to get going. Um, all right, guys, talk to me. How's your morning so far?
It's fine.
What should we
I'm
be
tired
celebrating?
today.
What did you say?
I said I'm tired today.
Yep. We got to keep plowing through.
Keep pushing, keep
We
pushing.
should celebrate. We
Yep.
should celebrate that we're all up and on this call.
I love
That's
that, Jan.
That's a good thing.
I love that. Who else wants to share some good news?
Well, on yesterday, I did, when I was doing my lead gen, I did get a follow-up call from one of my Spear that
Okay.
says that their niece is trying to buy, so I had to pull some information from them for them today. So I'm supposed to talk back to them later on this afternoon. So that was good.
Beautiful. So tell me a little bit more about, for those that stayed on the call, and that's going to be the this room will be available from 9 to 9:30 while I'm on the leadership meeting, for you guys to role play, script practice, get each other excited, etc. And then from 9:30 to about, I had in mind about 10:45 be on the phone, and then from about 10:45 to 11 we kind of do a wrap up and handle, hey, how should I address this concern or this objection, or hey, what should I have said in this situation, that kind of thing. And then that'll force, for those that are looking for public accountability and quite frankly better results, you can participate. Yesterday, for example, I made 14 calls externally. I made 4 or 5 internally and booked 2 appointments internally, but externally I made 14 phone calls. I got a hold of 7 people and booked 3 appointments. So I haven't booked 3 appointments in a while in one sitting. So thank you for the additional forced accountability. And for those that were on that were participating, I just love it if you could take a moment and share kind of what you experienced. I know Marie ended up chatting with a multi-family investor who's looking up to $1 million for something. Who else found some good luck yesterday or some successes yesterday?
I ended up getting oh, go ahead, Kathy.
No, you go ahead, Alicia.
So I ended up getting a listing appointment. Actually, I had 2 listing appointments and 1 to call back. So that worked out really good. And then I have a buyer that I'm taking out on Thursday.
So all of that came from barely an hour of calls?
I was trying to pull up how many people I called. I did all for sale by owners.
Okay.
And so I have one of the for sale by owners in Canton, and she kept me on the phone forever. She was such a sweetheart. She was just the sweetest lady. I was just having such a great time with her. She was just funny. And then the other one is in Ackworth. And then this one, they're moving to New Jersey. But that's the one that wants me to call them back today because they live in Smyrna.
Okay. Just a real quick note. I think most of us know this, but I'll throw it out there anyway. Don't forget that we have a relocation network that can connect a buyer or seller with agents anywhere that there's a Keller Williams office, right? We're not required to use Keller Williams, just so you know. The reason why I always chose to use Keller Williams if I could was that I know they value the same stuff I value, right? They are learning based, they're tech savvy, they take their business seriously, they treat it like a business, etc. So for example, that family that's going to be moving to New Jersey, you could say, I'm not sure if you've been interviewing agents, but I'd love to connect you with a referral partner up there. And ultimately you can facilitate that and receive a portion of the commission. Typically that's about 25%. And the office doesn't take any, the money is split just like any money would be split. There's no additional cuts or transaction fees like you're probably used to.
Yeah. Okay. We laugh, Jocelyn. We laugh.
Right.
I've been there. Hey, no commission on the first one because we're all part of the team.
Right.
I know all about that, guys. So great job. That's one hour, just over 1 hour of calling, and you have 3 new prospective clients.
Yeah, that worked out really well. I just got to get up and running with I'm trying to put my new listing, the one that I have in McDonough, I'm trying to put that one up into DocuSign. And so I talked to Sam yesterday, but I wasn't the only one, I guess, that's having problems with that. So
if it was me, I would go just me personally.
Yep.
The second I see that it's not working properly, I'd go back to .loop and just do it there. And ultimately you have to transfer it to DocuSign. We can deal with that later.
Okay, because I already got the pictures.
Yeah, perfect. All right, tell me something else. Who else had some success?
Kathy did, but she stepped away.
I spoke with several investors yesterday that told me that they are buying. Yeah. I spoke to 2 in particular who have $1 million plus in cash. I have an appointment to get back with a guy today on some properties. We're ironing out, what he's looking for and, what could be potentials for him. So we can kind of line up our thinking on what to be looking for him. So,
beautiful.
He's been in my back pocket for a while and I haven't done anything with it. And, now's a great time to do that.
That's right. Very good. Because a lot of agents, as you can see, we had, this is just kind of mind-blowing to me, to be honest, is we had the director of sales from one of the top teams in the entire Southeast region of Keller Williams, who has led the buyer team for the Peters Company, has led the seller team for the Peters Company, and now is the director of sales, giving her virtual listing presentation live for everybody. And there was like 63 or 64 people on the call. So if you weren't live on the call, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you invest an hour and watch that. Okay. That will show you the, that will show you how to be a successful listing agent in this current time. So I'm sure you guys are all wondering about the change in the lockdown and all that kind of stuff coming Friday and another round of it coming Monday. I have just as many questions. So as soon as I know, I'll share it with you. We might all learn at the same time, but just continue to be safe yourself, of course. And most importantly, so even if they say, okay, you can do open houses now, or you can meet with clients face-to-face now, you got to understand that even though you might be, excuse me, anxious to go out there and meet, you still need to ask that question up front, which is, how are you feeling, right? What do you feel comfortable with, right? Do you want a bunch of people coming in and out of your house, right? Just this week, from a personal note, my wife and I decided that we weren't going to let the housekeeper in, right? We're playing it a little bit more safe than usual. And for the first time in a couple of years, I had to fold clothes. Like, that's a big deal. I'm not happy about that. Right. So, you guys got to take yourself off mute if you're going to laugh now, because I can't hear you unless I'm looking.
We don't feel sorry for you, Phil.
We don't. We fold clothes all the time. Yeah.
Right. You know I was laughing.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you.
Exactly. I have a sofa full of clothes. That's why I was laughing.
So people are making big sacrifices, and you just need to make sure that you're in tune with what their feelings are. Cool. All right. Anyone have any hot topics they want to discuss today? All right, let's talk about shift for a second. How are we doing on Tactic 7? Has anyone read? I know it's due tomorrow, but how are we doing on Tactic 7? Should we talk about it tomorrow? Has anyone read it and want to chat about it? Pricing ahead of the market?
That seems to be, a big issue. I spoke to a guy yesterday. I called him up. I've got some properties listed I'm trying to find buyers for, and he happens to be one of the investors. Okay. And he was telling me all about a home he has listed with another, or getting ready to list with another agent. And I've known for a long time he has another agent. But he was telling me how his agent over in Martin's Landing doesn't want to list his house for what he thinks he should list his house for. And he's just, sellers are just still not realistic in their expectations. They still think that they can get a ton of money. And, I was on the phone with him for a half an hour, but, he's not my client. So I just kind of pushed him along, but I tried to explain her thinking, and he just was not buying it.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes to the end of it. That's a commentary on the end of this chapter, if you've gotten to it, which is kind of like, if the seller is not going to price their home properly, in your opinion, yet they still want to give you the opportunity, you basically have two choices. And there's kind of two schools of thought on this. Number one is you turn it down and you say, hey, I'm going to be investing money in this listing. I'm going to put a sign in the yard and my reputation's going to be on the line. And all the neighbors are going to say, well, gosh, this guy can't sell the house because, they don't necessarily think the price is wrong because they live there and they want the house to be worth more than it's worth, right? So they look at you and say, oh, Jan can't get the job done. This sign's been in the yard for months, right? And so your reputation might take a bit of a hit. The other side, and in that case, obviously, you don't get any bait or carrot, for example, right? You're not going to get any sign calls off a listing you don't have, right? That's one scenario. The other scenario is you take the listing and you let the market substantiate or validate what you were saying, right? So the market, you put it out at, let's say, 350 when it should be at 300, and nothing happens, and then you've got evidence. more concrete evidence to share with the seller, and hopefully you can use that evidence and maybe some pre-negotiated price reductions to get the price to where it ought to be. And meanwhile, you got a carrot out there for the community to call you on, right? You can post some ads. You can use a listing for a lot of different ways, obviously. Does that make sense? So it's really, I'd go back to him and ask the questions like, tell me more about, your understanding of the value, right? Show me the evidence that you believe, maybe I missed it, right? Show me what you're looking at to say that this home should be worth 350 rather than what this evidence seems to point to 300, right? There's on page 142, they say, what should my asking price be? This is a strategic question, not a value question. What a house is worth is the answer to a value question, but what a house will sell for is the answer to a sales price question. They're clearly different. When a seller is ready to sell, there is only one thing they want to know. What is the best price for their house? What is the best price their house will sell for right now? So every indicator in the whole world might indicate that that home should be worth 300, but it actually might not sell for 300 right now, right? It might sell for 280 because people are freaked out, right? So even where the data supports, that may not be good enough. They talk a lot about chasing the market, right? Chasing the market is when you're either at the market or slightly above the market or certainly way above the market. And then as the market falls, you're chasing it. The only way you're ultimately going to sell is if you take a bigger jump and beat the market. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you might have to explain that to them. And you might do it in non-real estate. Right?
Would you, because I understand the theory behind the whole stick your sign in the yard, because you do get a lot of sign calls. And, I have profited on this. As we all know, I had a client right down from the office. He was just totally unrealistic on his price. But, I sold a couple of properties off of those sign calls.
That's right.
And
I stared at that sign all the time.
I know it fell down many times too. Got run over by the postal people. But would you negotiate if they really want to list that property unrealistically? Say, okay, I'm going to list the property, but if it doesn't sell, would you negotiate so that they reimburse you your expenses?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I took a listing. We'd been working on it, but it came on the market the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th or 19th of March, and it's overpriced. He wanted to list it for more than $700,000. It's probably overpriced by 25 to 50,000. And he said, I really, I'm not in a hurry to sell it. I just blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, David, if that price is important to you, I don't list houses, I sell them. I'm going to let you invest the money in the pictures. And he said, okay. So I put it on him.
If you ask 100 realtors a question, you're going to get 105 answers.
Yep.
Right. So I think that you have to test, you have to ask them enough questions to know how off base they are. Right. It's kind of like that conversation that we were having the other day where it's like somebody used somebody else, like a friend used a different realtor, and say, oh man, since you didn't use me, you got to send me a referral in the next 6 months. Is that cool? Like some people wouldn't have that conversation, and if the relationship wasn't that tight or it had the wrong dynamic, you might not be willing to say that, right? So depending on your relationship with the person, depending on how far off base they are, depending on how cooperative they are or how broke they are, I might test the waters in different ways. Like I've said some crazy things to clients because I felt like I had the leeway to do it, right? I once set a commission rate based on how many texts the woman sent me during the transaction. I said, look, last time we worked together, I looked right before closing, I looked at my thing, I looked at my text messages, and I had texted with you more than I had texted with my wife. So you get 500 texts. As soon as we go back over that, commission's going up. And she laughed. And I actually missed a meeting. I had it wrong in my schedule. So I gave her 250 free texts. And her uncle was like really, really sick in the hospital, and he was like bankrolling the whole deal. So every text from the hospital I waived, and she still went over. And I made more money. And we all laughed about it at the end because we had that type of relationship. Right? So it all depends on what your dynamic is. Okay? We're supposed to have some fun here, right? Okay, what else do we learn from Shift? I'll tell you what my biggest takeaway is, and we can spend a few more minutes on it tomorrow. My biggest takeaway was that we are expected to be market experts, right? And it talks about how you should be employing strategy, you should be employing market trends, you should be having some kind of evidence-based decisions and gut-based decisions, right? And so the presupposition here is that we really know what's going on in the marketplace. So if you're not studying what comes onto the market, what's going under contract, what's selling, right? How quickly is it selling? What are the trends month to month? What are the trends year to year? You don't know the floor plans because you're unfamiliar with the area, or you don't know the difference between this high school district and this high school district and how it affects prices. You could cost your client a lot of money, right? And we have committed to being a partner, right? We've committed to saving these people money and helping them net the most money, right? Or save the most money on the buyer side. So we have a pretty strong obligation to ourselves and to our family and to our clients and their family to make sure that we're giving these people sound advice. So I want you to really, really take that to heart, because we have a big burden, right? We're the professional, right? Would you go to a heart surgeon that didn't really know it was, the new technology for heart surgery? I doubt it. Heather, did you want to say something?
It wasn't from Shift, but through doing some of the Ignite homework last night, I kind of had an aha moment for myself, as far as we've been told to like look for how you're different as an agent. And I've been looking for something that makes me not feel like that sales person, because that's not how I perceive myself, and how can I look at it as a service.
Okay.
And I found something that really resonated with me.
Cool. Tell me about it.
I decided that for my marketing, I want to put myself in a way as I'm your tour guide in a foreign situation.
Okay.
And so it's my job to then, be the expert of being the expert of the market allows me to bring you to these different places that I think fit you, that are of your interest, because, when you work with a good tour guide or somebody that sets something up, you know what their interests are, and you show them what's available, and you talk about the points that would be of interest to them and whatever you're looking at. But it also, like, if it's in a foreign country or something like that, they know the language. They know how to say it in a way that makes sense to you. And speaking a few languages. One time I was in Mexico with a group of people, and they wanted to go to some museums and stuffs. And so I went out and I hired a bus and I lined stuff up, and we all went on this bus together. And we arrived at the location they wanted to go to. And I went up to the window to ask if there was a group rate, what we could do, blah, blah, blah. And when I went up to the window and started talking, they said, how many tour guides are there with you? They just assumed I was the tour guide. And I said, 2. Because there's usually 2, and then I had somebody else get in free, so I got in free and the other person got in free, and then I acted like the person that was guiding, and then they set me up with somebody there, so they set up as that partnership. And so that moment just put me in that when people perceive that you're able to guide them through those experiences, then it becomes easier. And so somehow this is what, on my gut feeling, I kind of want to integrate into how I brand myself.
Yeah, I mean, I like that thought. I do have a couple of reservations, a little bit, just to make sure that, for example, you want to, rather than the tour guide, I might think about how you can position yourself as either the advisor or the consultant or
the travel.
Right. Just because, you know, you don't want to be a tour. Like if I say, hey, I want to buy a home in Roswell between 350 and 500. I need a tour guide. Right. You don't want to show them 50 homes.
Right. True.
Right. You want to take them right to the place they've asked for based on what their needs are, and not being clear enough. Right. So you ask them, okay, tell me about the home you want. And they say,
yep,
well, it's got to have a basement and 4 bedrooms and be in a community with a pool. Okay. And that reveals 45 homes. You don't go show them 45 homes. You ask them more questions. Right? So does it need to be in this school district? Does it need a master on the main? Does it need anything finished in the basement? Do you need a 2-story foyer? Do you need a Jack and Jill bathroom? Right. You want to get their criteria down to like 5 homes and show them those. So I just don't want you to insinuate that that it's kind of like that there's no like kind of parameters, if you will.
Okay.
It's kind of like this idea of like, I'm available 24/7 for you. Well,
yeah, no.
I'll make that decision later, but I'm not going to start off the relationship that way. Right. Like, you just want to be authentic. Like, I mean, I leave messages. I call a lot of agents, right? And I'm calling agents that are, sometimes I'll call an agent that did like 2 deals last year, and they're like, I'm not available right now because I must be at a closing or, at a listing appointment. I'm like, dude, you hadn't seen the closing table in 6 months. What are you talking about? Right? Like, be authentic. But I would set it up more like you're the partner professional than the I don't know, maybe it's just semantics, but we can talk about it a little bit offline.
Okay.
But that's great. The most important thing is you're looking about, your experiences with travel and guiding and these kind of things are seeping into the real estate business, which is great. That's the point.
Yes.
All right. I want to make two more quick thoughts. Number one, I asked you guys yesterday to do one of 2 things: either register for Bold Pivot or notify me privately that you were having an issue with registering. So is it fair to say that everyone is enrolled? Okay. There's a few of you, I can't see your faces, but if you have not registered for Bold Pivot, I'm going to make a very important comment. I was on a call yesterday with the other PC coaches, and Scott, who is the PC coach in Peachy Corners at Chet North, he said something that was like, it was a bit unusual for him to say this, in my opinion, because I've known him for a couple of years. And he said that he was making in his program Bold Pivot mandatory. You don't want to do Bold Pivot. It's almost like an intelligence test. It's like, would you like me to give you $100? Okay, if you say no, then something's not clicking, right? He said that Bold Pivot is mandatory. This, in my opinion, is more important than Ignite. It is more important than Ramp Up. It is more important than just about everything other than generating leads. Okay. And when somebody gave him pushback and called Mike and said, hey, I don't like this, He says, did you really say that you should leave the PC program if you're not going to be in Bold Pivot? He actually, you know what he said? He said, no, I didn't say you should leave the PC program. I think you should leave real estate because you're not going to make it. It's that important. It's that important, right? So I'm not saying that's a strong comment, and I'm very well aware of that. I'm just sharing how important this really is. Okay.
And it's free. After you graduate and get your first closing, it's free.
Right. And also, just so you know, we're working behind the scenes to kind of create a little fund, if you will, to offset the upfront fee from agents that have a strong desire to go, yet just can't make it work financially. So please, if you're alive and you're on this call, I either want you to register or tell me that you would like to register and you're just having an issue. You can do it privately. Everything is confidential, but I want you in that room. Okay. Okay. Next.
Bill, can I ask you a quick question about Friday and the DS Murphy? They've announced a new DS Murphy class, but we have a mastermind at 1, and that
I saw
class
that.
is at 12:30.
What's the class at?
12:30.
Well, and how long does it go?
3 hours.
Till 3:30.
Okay, Growth Mastermind. And it ends at 3:30?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, I'll send a message out to the growth folks. Let's do this. I will, again, I need to spend a couple minutes just double checking my schedule, but what I think I might like to do is to move that to 3:30 then. But I'll confirm that this afternoon or this morning, actually. Okay?
Okay.
So I want you to
That'd be great. Thank you.
Appraisals, but I'll also, of course, don't want to postpone it or eliminate it or anything. Okay.
And for all the new agents, this is supposed to be, I haven't taken it because it's just come at a really bad time for the last 3 times, but any agent who's ever taken it says it's eye-opening, enlightening, and the best CE class they've ever taken.
Wow. Big deal. Okay, I'm going to mute everyone, or I'm going to mute myself and keep the room open. I'll be back at 9:30. I'm going to put you on the spot, Kathy. Maybe you can keep everyone in check. Remember, we created a lot of appointments and a lot of business yesterday. So I'm going to encourage you to, if you want to stay on the film, great. If you want to stay off the film, fine. Just be in the room and watch the chat bar because people are setting appointments and having fun. It's a whole lot of fun. You know, yesterday I was like, ooh, 3 appointments. Yes, I'm going to tell everyone, right? Like there's a different energy around it. So have a wonderful day. I'll see you in 30.
All right. Let's go talk to people.
All right, guys. Keep making the calls.